Welcome to the Financial Freedom Mastermind Group podcast. Here we're all about breaking free from the 40 to 50-year work grind and accelerating our journey towards financial freedom. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern as we explore different types of investments that can fast-track your path to financial independence. We serve as a hub for connecting with fellow members during our sessions so you can share successes, ask questions, and keep the momentum going.
Good evening, everyone. This is Niyi Adewole, host of the Ekabo Home Financial Freedom Mastermind Group, and I'm super excited to be joining you here on Wednesday, February 19th. We're already more than halfway through the second month of the year, and it's truly been an incredible start to the year. I can tell you that the Ekabo Home Network is still making moves. The Ekabo Home Realty team is still making moves, and I'm excited to see a lot of you in person next Friday at our bowling event. And so if you have not already, please go ahead and reserve your spots for that. It's filling up quickly, and there are limited spots for that. And so you want to go ahead and reserve. We look forward to seeing all of you there, and it's going to be awesome. So we're going to kick it off with the quote of the week. And so the quote of the week is, "You have less time than you think. Start now." And one story to reiterate that, the quote of "you have less time than you think and you should start now," is when I first got started in medical device sales. I was in a development program, right, for 18 months where I traveled around the country, worked with different reps and learned the products. And then I got my own first territory, which was in Louisville, Kentucky. And so I was stationed in Louisville. There was not an end date in sight. It was just, hey, you got to make something happen, and then maybe a promotion would happen. Thankfully, I was able to do that within 15 months. But the person that I took over for to move to Louisville and take over the territory was an individual that had been there for 20-something years. He had graduated from the University of Louisville. He was a local legend. He played football for University of Louisville and had opportunities to potentially go pro, but chose a different career path. But long story short, that person, while he was working at my company, all he wanted to do when he retired was move to Destin, Florida, and build a beach house, because that's where his family used to travel to, and stay there by the beach. And so when he retired from working, they went there to start building that beach house. And within 6 months, he actually, unfortunately, had a stroke. And when he recovered from that stroke, he had a lot of functions not fully working well. Like the left side of his body forced him to walk in a way where he needed assistance, and also didn't allow him to drive normally for a super long time. And so I say all this to say that you don't have as much time as you think. And if you believe that you want to go out and achieve something, whether it's in the long run or, tomorrow, you should start taking steps toward it today. That was actually what made me start to set aside the goal to start crossing places off my bucket list. A lot of people wait until, you retire to get out there and start visiting all these places that you wanted to visit along the way. I'm a fan of doing it along the way. And immediately from 2016 on, I've been taking a trip once a year outside the country to different places I wanted to cross off my bucket list. And now we're trying to accelerate that to do even more, because you never know. 3 questions that came up over the last week that we're going to dive into today. The first one is, I want to purchase an investment property and a primary home this year. Which one should I do first? And I love this. And the question I'm going to ask, right, initially is, could you do both, right? As people on this podcast know, I love the whole house hack method. And so if you're open to a little bit of discomfort and open to doing both, why not buy a duplex, triplex, quadplex, live in one unit and rent the others out, because you're combining the two? Now, let's assume you can't do that for one reason or the other. Say you have a huge family and you guys really need space. What I would do is buy your primary house first, because that's the most important. That's your comfort level. That's where your base of operations is going to be. And it's going to change your debt to income level. So you don't want an investment property affecting your debt to income when you're buying that personal property. And then after you get the personal, then you can go and get the investment property, which is going to cost you a bit more down as well. So that personal property, you can put as little as 5%, 3.5%, depending on what loan products are available to you. And then the investment property, that's the one where I'd come in and put down a bit more. The second question we have for the week is, are we currently in a buyer's market or a seller's market? And we are firmly at this point in time, which is still the end of winter in 2025 in a buyer's market. When you look at a seller's market, 2020, 2021 was an intense seller's market. And it took all of 22, 23, and a bit of 24 to cool down. And now we're firmly into a buyer's market, meaning there's more listings sitting out there. There's deals getting negotiated that, quite frankly, were not able to even be negotiated a few years ago. And even on the sell side, we're getting creative in the way that we're helping our sellers get their homes sold. It's no longer putting a sign in the yard and just waiting for people to come. We are actively going out there and finding the buyers for these deals and putting together some creative deals. I can tell you one in particular that we did last year was a seller who actually listed with somebody else. His home sat for like 120 days. And then we came in and took this listing over. We lowered the price a little bit, but it was still sitting for a while. We ran the numbers to find out, hey, what length would this work as a short-term rental, right? Lowered it to that amount, which was roughly 20K off from where he was. And then we also brought the buyer to him to put that deal together. And now fast forward to this year, the buyer's happy. They're making a lot of money off of that because they turned the whole thing out into a luxury short-term rental. And the seller was happy because he was able to move it off his books. And so long story short, this is a buyer's market.
We're going pretty good. Just trying to make it happen.
Come on now. And I saw some of the highlights from All-Star. That was pretty dope. How was it hanging with some of the celebrities, some of the basketball players over the weekend?
It's always good to get out there and connect with like-minded individuals and see how we can continue to grow the game and make it a better product for the fans.
Come on now. Hey, nothing wrong with it. Yvette, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm super good. Just trying to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and make it happen.
Yes.
And I know, just as a disclaimer, we're going to have another individual joining via the chat, not able to join live due to work, but please feel free to throw some of those questions that you had earlier into the chat, and us as a group will work to answer a few of those. But while we're waiting for those to come in, Yvette, what's new in your world?
Well, I just want to comment on one thing. I know you were talking about the buyer's market. And actually, we're starting to see a lot of the clients coming out now, the volume starting to pick up. So if that was a goal for them for 2025, a lot of the clients are starting to fulfill that goal, which is good.
Yeah, it helps when you have more properties that you can choose from. Now, the thing that's still scarce is the small multis. I think Bigger Pockets did an awesome job over the years. And the fact that now you can put down 5%, those are still ones that move relatively quickly. This was an incredible deal, right? Naira on our team actually sourced it, and we sent it to a first-time investor, and they hesitated, and it's gone now, right? It was listed last week. This is day 7. It was listed last week. We sent it to them on Thursday. They were like, hey, I just need to connect with the family, think through this over the weekend, and it's under contract over the weekend. But it was a duplex in Marietta, renovated. It was listed for $395, and each unit was already rented for $1,850. It was hitting at 0.9% of the 1% rule, and it was like, man, if I was in the position right now, we'd be after it. But yes, you do got to move on those type of deals. But broadly speaking, more houses are out there. Justin, what about you, man? What's new in your life?
So you have your cup too.
I do. Have you started using this thing or what? There we go.
My internet's going kind of all over the place. I'm having a little bit of spotty connection, but nothing new, man. Just trying to focus and trying to get ready to acquire another deal. Sounds like you guys might have had one that would have been right up my alley, but all good. I'll start looking for something else here now. Just got to get pre-approved and get all that stuff kind of worked out, but probably buy a property in the next 3 to 6 months. Probably 6 months, probably more so 6 months, but we're definitely looking to buy another property here soon.
Come on now. And once we get that pre-approval, we're ready to hit the ground running. I think that this is an awesome year, especially for a lot of sellers that have been waiting for interest rates to drop. Man, it has been hanging tight. And in all reality, it may even go up before it comes down with some of the tariff talks and things of that nature. And so this is a very interesting time period. Outside of real estate investing, I don't know that we've talked about this much on here, but what other investments are you guys doing outside of real estate investing?
Man, I'm buying the S&P 500 and I'm letting it ride. I probably do about 25% of my income every month into the S&P 500. I'm just letting it ride, and I'm investing into my daughter's 529 plan, things of that nature. But I'm buying stocks daily because I figure that's an opportunity for me to get money to work for me daily. versus waiting for a deal to come up. I'm still putting money away for a real estate deal, but it's like I'm not gonna just let, dollars that I can take pre-tax out of my check not go to work for me. So I do 3% with my job for 401k, and then I invest on the side as well. Just try to max out my HSA for the family contribution, trying to max out my Roth IRA, just making sure that I got as many dollars that I can working for me now in my young life, that by the time I get to retirement, I'll be all good and set to go.
One
Yeah,
piece to jump on before kick. Go ahead.
that sounds good, because I know when I was working, when I had the W-2, I would always max out. And I tell young people when they're first starting out, a lot of times they say they don't have the money to put away. But what you do also is you start somewhere, and then when you get your raise or whatever, you take that money and you start adding, and then sooner or later, you're at that max point.
Yeah, what I try to do now, Yvette, every year, if we get a bonus, I just automatically put that bonus towards, because I wasn't calculating earning that salary anyway. So I can go ahead and knock out a big
Right.
chunk of whatever it is for the year with that bonus. Because you think about it, your Roth IRA $7,000. For me, my family contribution is 8,500. It's like, I'm not saying those are small numbers, but once you go ahead and get them taken care of, you really don't have to think about it for the rest of the year.
Correct, right. And at the end of the day, I mean, you're saving, and a lot of times, I mean, you really don't necessarily miss that, that income that you're putting away.
Yep. And it's reducing your tax liability for certain of those accounts. So it's like,
Cor-
you're going to lose it one way or another.
Correct. So you might as well have it working for you.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think one of those things that I started doing in the last 2 years of working W-2, and I still do today, which is amazing, is the HSA account. Like, this thing is a hack of hacks, right? It's just growing.
Mhm.
And then every time I look at it, I'm just surprised. Wow, okay, it's actually like built something with the money that's in the S&P, right? And then you can use it for different health related things, especially the formation of a family, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
and it's a triple tax
Yeah,
benefit.
what about
So you can
you mind talking through that piece, the triple tax?
Yeah, so you're not taxed when you put the money in, you're not taxed when you use the money for a qualified medical expense, and the money grows tax free. So you got a triple tax benefit with that account.
Mhm.
Come on now. And I hear that there's talks, and I don't know how this would actually go down. I don't believe it's actually go down, but there's talks of having income tax eliminated. We'll see how that goes. I'm not holding my breath on that piece, but
Don't hold your breath.
but Yvette, what about you? What are some alternative investments that you dive into outside of real estate?
Well, as you know, Mark and I are looking at retirement. So we've been working with a retirement specialist, prior to, moving down here. So a lot of our money, we started putting into annuities. Also, the financial planner that we were working with, he's pretty aggressive, and he has access to, different funds that other people don't have access to. And we had been working with him probably, well, I guess 10 years now. I lose track of time.
That's pretty
And
cool.
that's
That's pretty cool. So he knows. Go
No, I
ahead.
was just gonna say retirement strategy for my parents, right? I'm not quite to retirement age, but my parents are coming up on retirement age, and I haven't did the research because I'm not close to retirement. I'm just kind of doing an aggressive approach building for my retirement. So I definitely would want to connect with you to hear more about what I could be doing for someone that's nearing retirement in order to kind of,
Mhm.
jumpstart that and make sure that they have their dollars working for them and it can last them the rest of their lives.
Right. I can connect you with the financial planner actually, and he'll do, a consultation, which will be good.
Done and done. I think that'd be awesome. And I think, Justin, you're going to drop your, yeah, or I'll text Yvette your email for that piece. But no, that would be awesome. And the thing that I always look at when it comes to just the overall wealth building journey is you definitely have to diversify, right? Like, real estate is my main thing when I look at actively investing, because I feel like if you focus on something and you really truly become an expert there, you get an unfair advantage. And so I feel more comfortable taking quote unquote risk in real estate, but I still do the S&P 500. I have just a consistent X amount goes over here every 2 weeks. I do it. I just dollar cost average it and leave that there. I'm doing the HSA, maxing that one out. When I was working in corporate, we maxed out the 401k,
Mhm.
and it was crazy how fast that grew over time. The first year, it's
Yeah,
like, okay, this is just,
it really does. It grows.
and then 5, 6 years, like, wow, okay, this you can actually do something with this. This is pretty cool. And so one other piece that I've added in recent years is very minimal, very, very minimal amount, but I do dollar cost average 3 Bitcoins. So I do Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then also XRP. XRP was given to me by my roofer, and It's crazy because it just blew up this year. But I do those three into real estate and then S&P 500.
For those that don't quite maybe understand it, that are joining the call or watching the call, need kind of break down dollar cost averaging. I know you're tossing around a lot of terms and acronyms, and I can remember when I was first getting into this industry, right? You hear a lot of this jargon, but you don't quite understand what people are saying, and that can make people feel a little bit on the outside looking in.
Absolutely. And Justin, you're spot on. Thank you for getting me to elaborate on this piece. So dollar cost averaging is not timing the market, but making sure that you spend time in the market. And instead of taking, say, $1,000 and throwing it in S&P 500 today to see it go down potentially tomorrow, it's taking $1,000 and splitting it up over 10 weeks and saying, hey, I'm just going to be consistent every week, every month. I'm going to put the exact same dollar amount, no matter if the market's going up, if it's going down. And if you do that long enough, you tend to win. And experts say that you can actually beat most of the market, or better yet, it's very hard to beat the market. The top paid mutual fund investors are able to beat it by about 0.5% or 1%, and that's not every year. But if you just dollar cost average the market, you should make 8 to 10% on average each year, which is more than enough to get you financially free.
And to kind of break that down a little bit more, basically what happens is even if the market's high one day and you buy, you're also buying if the market goes down the next day. So you're making sure that you're buying both ends of the market. You always fall kind of right in the middle.
Spot on, spot on. And Yvette, did you want
Nate?
to read the question in the chat?
Well, yeah, I was looking at that. This is from Claudia. So I started marketing my property at the beginning of February, but I'm having a bit of trouble getting some tours scheduled, and I feel like I need to get more traffic coming in. So far, I've gotten 10 to 15 inquiries about it, but some people haven't really been following up after I reached out. Is it still early in the game? Should I make changes to my rent price? What strategies should I use to market my property to get the best chances of getting it rented as soon as possible? And what websites/apps should I use?
Okay, so first and foremost, a little more background. This is a house hack that's going to be a rent by the room, right? And so renting other rooms to individuals where they're going to be co-living. This is something I did up in Boston, right? With the condo, and then also before that with my first apartment. And so Justin, Yvette, any comments, any suggestions before I jump in?
My first question, okay, she says she plans to do a long term. I will say if you find that your strategy of long term isn't working after a good bit of time, I would say if you're comfortable, try to move to a short-term strategy because you could get people in there rent it quickly. If you don't want to be saddled with floating that mortgage on your own, but I would also say look for sites like Roomster, things of that nature, and try to target people in the medical field. Join a ton of Facebook groups, figure out all the housing Facebook groups here in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, and you want to make sure that you're sending out your listing as much as possible. Because if you think about it from the standpoint of when you're looking for a home, you may come across something you love one day and come across things you hate the next day. You can kind of get a bit of fatigue and you may not be checking that site regularly. So if you're always constantly putting your information out there, you could maybe find someone that's looking for a home. Like the first day they're looking, maybe they can find your home and they can get connected with you. So it's about putting your stuff out there consistently. You know, the more time you're in front of people's faces, the better opportunity you have of getting that property rented.
That was spot on, and Roomster's not even one I've heard of before. But Yvette, you got anything to add to that?
No, I'm going back over she was saying that, okay, people haven't followed up. Sometimes, too, you need to reach back out to people also because I'm saying, they're looking at multiple, places to rent. So, just having that follow-up call to them.
And something that Niyi told me about a long time ago, too, when you have someone reach out, you want to try to close that deal, right? You don't want to be aggressive and like drop your pricing or anything of that nature. But like if you can do anything, sweeten the pot, maybe like a week free rent or anything of that nature, it's like you want to look into those things because if someone's reaching out and they're inquiring about it, they're interested. So if you can go ahead and close that deal, a bird in hand is better than two birds in the bush.
Absolutely. And I love that quote. And it's spot on. And so another piece to add to this, I think what Justin said is definitely it. And what Yvette said. One, you need to definitely follow up with people and try to reach out to them as quickly as you can. Phone call, preferred, and then text. And I think my internet's cutting in and out. Can you guys see me?
Yeah, we got you
Yeah, I
now.
can see you.
Okay. Okay. So everybody is super busy, right? And this is something I even talk to our team about when it comes to following up with clients, things of that nature. We all just have a lot going on in our lives. And it's not that you're bothering somebody, you're actually helping them because they need this. The thing about a lot of these apps is they've also made it super easy for somebody to say, hey, I'm interested in this without having any actual follow up. And so it's up to you to be that thing, that person that follows up and puts yours on the map and puts it back in front of them to say, hey, yeah, you reached out about this property. I'd love to get you out to go see it. And what I try to do with the scheduling is schedule as many as you can at the same time. So if you have 10 people reaching out, I'd reach out to them and say, hey, we actually got a showing on Saturday from 12 to 2, right? And you just be there from 12 to 2. And the more people you can get in during that time period, boom, you're going to be able to get it rented because now they see each other as competition to get the house. We actually just had a rental up in, well, no, it was actually down my way in Lakewood, right? That we got it rented out, who somebody's going to start there on March 1st in about a week from now. And we used that strategy. We had 2 renters show up at the same time to view it. Both of them were asking questions and hearing the answers. And one of them ended up applying, getting it, and they're moving in March 1st. And then from a platform standpoint, a couple other platforms to consider is Craigslist, which is an oldie but a goodie, right? And PadSplit. Justin, Yvette, have you guys had any experience using PadSplit?
I
No.
haven't u I haven't used any of the rent by the room sites. I'm typically doing a short-term strategy, so I haven't dealt with this at all. But I know people crush it rent by the room on Airbnb because you just have such big foot traffic coming from that large platform. And she actually had a follow-up question too. How long do you think is considered too long before you drop your pricing? I would say that is highly dependent on your financial situation, right? If you can float that mortgage, obviously you don't want to, but if you want to make sure you rent at the price that you have already set, I would say kind of try to hold it out because you've had a bunch of inquiries on the property, right? You don't want to drop your price and get somebody in there for a price that you didn't want to rent to them, and now you got to ride out that 12 months when you could have probably rolled out 2 months of not getting any income at all, and got the price that you wanted to rent. So look at how much you're thinking about dropping your pricing and see if that adds up to holding out for another 2 months, because then you're at a net zero, right? You dropped your pricing and you got somebody in, but you're still just going to have the same thing you would have had if you would have just rolled it out for 2 more months. So I would just really be analytical about it and really think about it and be honest with yourself about your financial situation with floating that mortgage.
Right. And then you said she's had like 10 to 15 inquiries about it too. So, I mean, people are actually seeing it.
Yeah. And like out of those 10 to 15, maybe if you circle back, maybe you can land 1 to 2 of them because that's a good bit of leads, depending on how long you're talking you've had it out there.
Absolutely. And one other thing to do when you actually have somebody that is coming to tour, and this is something we did that helped set us apart, is we would, and I wish I had it handy, but we would put 2 or 3 of the pictures, almost like if you've ever been to go see a house, a listing, or an open house, they'll have those flyers or the handouts where it has all the details on the house and maybe a couple pictures. We used to do that for our rentals, right? And we put, hey, this is the application link and put a QR code to it, but we'd make it really clean with the bunch of photos that were big so people could see it and remember, and we'd hand it to anybody that came to tour the house. And it ended up allowing us to get more applications in because if somebody's going to go look at your house today, they're probably going to look at 3 or 4 others as well, right? Because they want to make a decision on where they want to live. But the paper that you give them is the one they'll remember. And so that's another hack. And I can send you an example of what that looks like after this. I just got to find it because I don't necessarily have it anymore. But I got to find it. But that used to help tremendously.
I think, Nee, you kind of spoke on this earlier, but FOMO is real, the fear of missing out. So if you could let those 10 to 15 people that reached out know that 10 to 15 people reached out, you maybe can get someone to go ahead and get it. You know how it's been if you've ever tried to buy anything online. It's like, hey, I got 3 other people trying to buy this couch. So you know if you don't go get the couch now, there's a possibility it could be gone. I think the same thing happens in the housing market. That's why we saw 2 years ago people were paying a lot over asking price to ensure that they could get the home. So I would definitely lean into that and try to make sure you let people know that other people are trying to get this house.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, this has been an awesome conversation on this. And shifting gears a little bit, what do you guys got upcoming that you're excited about? I know, Justin, you talked about getting that next house hack later this year. That's going to be awesome. And Yvette, I know we're working through continuing to ramp up the real estate business, but what is new? What are you guys excited about for in 2025?
Personally, I'm excited about some trips that I'm going to be taking. So, time to get away. We're looking at Spain and Portugal. We're going to go with the group that's here. I live in a 55 and above community, so it's one of the clubs here. They're planning a trip. And then in the summertime, we'll be in North Carolina. And actually, on that trip, we might, consider looking at some property there too in Hilton Head.
Come on now. Hey, when you get the property in Hilton Head, all I ask is that I get 1 weekend a year, free. 1 weekend a year. Hilton Head is beautiful. I love the beach down there. And I think that's the closest one driving distance to us. But I love the fact that you're taking... Hey, come on now. Hey, we gotta try. You never know unless you ask. But it's cool to be able to take time away and travel. And Portugal, I actually got to visit for the first time last year. Beautiful. Definitely could live there. Like, it's an awesome location. One of the things I'm excited about is we're going to Spain as well this year, taking a trip to Barcelona this summer. So super excited about that. But Justin, what you got, man? What you excited about this year?
I mean, speaking of trips, man, I don't want to switch gears too quickly. How are you doing these trips? Are you credit card hacking all the business points you're getting from the multiple homes that we're listing on these short-term platforms? Or
So a little bit of everything. Definitely have the Delta card for the real estate business. And so all the expenses that come through the real estate business, we're putting on that. And so we're able to use some points for that piece. And then we've also run what we're doing as a company trip, right, for our top sales agent each year. And so that's part of this as well. So this whole thing's going to be a write-off because
nice.
it's technically a company trip, just like, and all the big companies do as well. So a little bit of both.
Nice. I need to connect with you on the company trip aspect of things because I got like 300,000 credit card points, man, that I'm looking to leverage here soon for quite the nice trip. And if I can offset some of the other costs with it being a company trip, I definitely like to do that because I definitely want to take the opportunity to help my partner be able to take a trip because it's something that we've been looking forward to.
Come on now. Yeah, let's definitely connect offline. I'd love to talk about that piece. It is pretty fun. But what you got, man? What you excited about?
Man, I'm just excited about my little girl. She's gonna be 1 year old here soon, so she's growing steadily and just trying to make sure that I'm setting up the best things that could help her in her life. She has a long life ahead of her, so if I can put in place now to help her as she grows, I think we'll be pretty good.
Come on now. Nothing like it. Legacy. It's amazing, man. And I think that you are setting the example for future generations, and the sacrifices made now are going to be well worth it when you're able to take a step away and truly have time off and not worry about any income or things of that nature with these investments you're making, which is awesome.
100%. Debt free
But
is the goal.
come on now. Hey, we're going to make it happen. But guys, I appreciate you joining tonight. I look forward to seeing everybody next Friday at the bowling event. Justin, we need to connect with that offline as well.
Okay.
Completely different. But I hope everybody has a good evening, and we will catch you a little bit later.
All right, man.
Okay.
Peace.
See ya.
Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern as we explore different types of investments that can fast track your path to financial independence.